This is the Tapped In Podcast, the podcast for beverage distributors that want to empower their sales team to drive business results. Listen up and welcome back to another episode of the Tapped In Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Bud, here with a fleet of people today. We've got Moneyball Ross, Data Mike, the Magic Man himself, Brad, and the Michigan man, Rick, here from Rave Associates. How are you boys today?
Doing fantastic.
Doing good. Doing great.
I love it. I love it. Boys, thanks for joining us today. We are going to have a good little discussion today and shoot the shit about what Rave has been up to with VXP and how you guys have gone through the steps of kind of automating your sales forces. It's a cool, interesting conversation because you guys have an incredible complex portfolio with all the wine in the world. You're a craft-centric distributor rather than the typical like Anheuser-Busch or Molson Coors distributor that's out there in the world. So what I think you two provide awesome kind of perspective on is like the challenge of running a portfolio that is complex, a challenge of running a market and servicing a market that's as wide as yours, that's that complex as well, and kind of how you've leaned into sales targeting, sales tracking, and, you know, kind of automating some of the sales force and sales planning stuff that you've done. So Brad, I'm going to have you go first, my man. How about you introduce yourself and what you do at Rave, and then we'll dive into Rick, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I'm Bradley Stachowiak. I am mainly IT at Rave, but I do a lot of other things, key accounts, information flow, data integrity, stuff like that. Making
Rick
sure
crafts a smile when you say mostly IT. He's like,
Nah,
shit, he helps me turn my computer on every morning.
I think his title on his card should probably say Swiss Army knife.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know that for sure.
But yeah, if there's something going array, I am going to dive headfirst into it. So
Do you help Rick find the files in his computer or on his computer?
yeah, on the line.
Joe needs a little more assistance than Rick, Brad. Let's be honest.
Yeah. No, Rick's good, but yeah, anything and everything regarding technology. So
I love it. That's awesome. And Rick, how about you introduce yourself too?
I'm Rick Lack. I'm Executive Vice President of Rave. Been here for about as long as the dinosaur's been around. So come from the OG grocery store world. Been with Rave since 2004, but prior to that in groceries. So retail, born and bred, and just love beer and wine, passionate about beer and wine, and the wholesaler side's been a vacation since the grocery store years.
I can only imagine. I was out with in the market this week with somebody who was formerly a grocery store manager. Is like, I love this. This is so much better than running my store.
It's the secret to making your vocation your vacation is making your vacation your vocation.
I love it. That's awesome. Now, boys, can you guys tell the listeners a little bit about Rave? We've got beer and wine distributor in Greater Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti area. For those of you who know our Michigander maps, better said like that, right over here. Not very, but what, 40 miles from Detroit-ish? Something like that?
Yeah, 38, 42, whatever. Depends on where you want to go in Detroit. Yeah, we're 8.5 counties of southeastern lower Michigan. That's where our trucks drive to. Rave's been around since 74 and was actually, it's a little bit backwards than it is today. We started as a wine company and imported wine for years. There was a Bill Rave. He was a chemical engineer. And he had developed Formula 409 and scrubbing bubbles compounds for Dow. Had an affinity for fine wine, French wine. So Rave was the original importer for all the wine today you would see in grocery stores and across the state. Back in those days, it was a handshake that did all the contracts. So legacy wine portfolio, family owned. I work for the Warbritons there. Brad is directly related to the family. I'm the family by proxy. Based on knowing Jim and Meg for years. Jim had sold to me in the grocery store business prior to me coming on board here in 2004. So from 74 into the 90s, Rave were the pioneers for, the import beer movement as it moved and started, gaining tread in the mid to late 80s. Rave, cornered the market. We pretty much have everything but Duval and Merchant Event products in here. So the vast portfolio Bud's already alluded to, there's 4,000 items behind us in the building. Yeah. So we're a bit of an anomaly there. And I think from what the industry tells me, there's one of us in every state, I think. to a degree that have this vast portfolio. So I think we're going to talk a little bit about how instrumental VXP has been in helping us manage that and focus things down to that level. Obviously, as you touched on, Bud, there's some work to be done and some intricacies there. But Rave then became the self-appointed kings of Michigan beer. We got to 10 Michigan suppliers before anybody else got to 3. And then we zoomed over 20 and haven't looked back, including the 2 largest in the state, obviously. And then from there, all size fits all. And it's 25-ish right now. It's difficult to tell. The industry is challenging for some of our smaller Michigan breweries, but they're ebb and flowing. It's a little bit like a barrel breathing, literally. Some folks are in different times and different spaces than others, but the Michigan beer scene is obviously the main thrust of what we do and the biggest bulk of our business. But yet, in terms of the SKUs, it's probably about 1/3 of them. So big, vast portfolio. Beer, wine, RTDs. We've been fortunate to pivot and work well within that spectrum. So VXP has also helped us there. So there's a lot of we've been in business doing it for a long time. Thought we knew a little bit, realized we didn't know a lot, and now definitely we're sitting here right now because you put some good wind in our sails with the software program.
That's awesome. Rick, what do you think is the number one hardest? We've got a lot of reps listening to this that have maybe a quarter or maybe half of the complexity of the portfolio that you have. What do you think is the number one challenge for rep out there managing a portfolio the size and scale that you have?
You mean having water find its level, and what I mean by that is there's a point and place and a time out there for each one of these products. And if you're standing in front of a warehouse full of 4,000 items and there's no way to wrap your brain around it. Slowly over time, it's the 80-20 rule. 20% of the items preside 80% of the volume. So you don't need to worry about over 3,000 of the items out there on your first day, but yet the enormity and the gigantic nature of it, and then of course everybody's favorite product is what they want to sell, but it is not necessarily what you need to be selling and focusing on. So if you follow and you have a good roadmap and you trust the process that's put in place in front of you, and you're patient and you realize until you get around the calendar 1 year, you're not really worth much of anything to yourself or anybody in terms of what you know. And that's hard to do because, I think everybody's out there is passionate about selling. If you're not, get out of the industry. But once you realize it's the powers in what you don't know and how to approach that judiciously and cautiously and not go and try and play all your cards and play your hand all at once, you're going to, you'll make it. And when you get around the calendar, you see the cyclical nature of all the events and what an event-driven business it is, from, all the great gifts Hallmark has given us to the natural tendencies of the calendar in terms of holidays and, the seasonality of it. That's when you really start, becoming more confident and dangerous in the business, in my opinion. So patience, that's the biggest thing, and exuberance and being exuberantly patient.
I think it's great advice. I love that. I'm glad I asked that because it is a challenge, right? Like a new rep walks into this, or we've got all this complexity that's in the business now, and you're, leading the pack in terms of some of the more complex portfolios out there in the world of beer and wine. So it's awesome to hear that feedback around, we got to focus on the 80-20. We're driving the business first, and then you kind of weave your way out into the other world. Brad and Rick, whoever wants to take this, maybe Brad, you can get started on it. Because Rick, you alluded to a process, like the sales process and the sales procedures. How have you guys started to implement processes and procedures in your method of the madness to help reps distill down what they should be focused on, picking through the clutter to find the right focus? What's the best things that you guys found that have really turned the screws on and really driven results, not just recently, but over time too?
Well, so one of the things that we've done, and it's the objective feature you guys have, we are now running wine focuses every quarterly, and we are tracking those on the app. And I have reps reach out to me constantly like, hey, I sold a bottle here, why is it not showing up? And it's like, give it a day. It's got to update, right? But we have our reps fully invested looking into, hey, here are my objectives. I got to get these done. And it's helped with chain execution immensely. I can't even put a number on it because with this tool, it has been almost perfect.
100%, Brad. It's an exception, Brad, right? When somebody misses a chain objective, it's almost unheard of already. And we had struggled before with that. I'd say we were in the 70s at some point. But, Brad, if we're not 100%, I mean, we're pretty darn close. And it doesn't take it takes a second to close a loop.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, are you communicating that execution rate back to your supplier partners in any way, or back to your retailer partners in any way too? Is that
They notice. They've already noticed. I mean, they're
that's
checked in on
awesome?
that, and they're clocked in on that. And one of the other great elements is it used to be I was the primary person in the supplier meetings, and we pivoted, with VXP, and Brad's in these meetings now. So we're still playing with this. We're far from perfect from it, but now that our eyes are open, your question about how and what and where and why do you pick what at what time, the ABP process is driving that, right? So but for example, right now 19.2s are hot. Well, we have 51 different SKUs of 19.2s out there, and one of the unintended consequences that I noticed right away with the system is it's given us a really good ability to see, which suppliers are really, really with us. And profit's not a dirty word, and there's no red cross on the front of our building. We're a for-profit organization, so I think it's been incredibly helpful at us, helping us understand and feed the suppliers that are really with us, and putting their mouth where their money is, and their money where their mouth is, in terms of driving money into this program, right? And having some focused spending. One of the big EBP issues for us this year is, hey, when you're going to have a trade show, you're going to have a big trade show. And, we kind of sat around for a minute and thought about it. That's a big expenditure to bring 100 and some suppliers into a room, of which X amount of them don't even show up other than a trade show once or 2 years. And they don't have their sweat equity and their dollars tied to our business. So the biggest unintended consequence and benefit I think I've seen so far in feeding items to Brad, my role is easy. We find the stuff that we can make money with, and make the most amount of money with, that make our additional revenue for our sales force. We can drive it that way. We can drive it out of supplier necessity because we have to sell something, or at the end of the day, everybody, purchasing, they're horrible at what they do. There's always too much of everything and not enough of
Or not enough.
Yeah.
Life would be great if it weren't for the purchasers, right? But what we're able
Rick's
to
the
do is
purchaser.
come back and
I know. Yes.
yeah, we're able to aid purchasing now in a way we never could before. Before, it was always the mean guy and the bad cop yelling at somebody hey, you got to sell this stuff. I already told you. I sent you 2 emails. Now we don't have to do that. I mean, this stuff is flowing through, and like I said, we're just now starting to get good at that. I feel like, Brad, and this is it's a playground. It's a whole new day for us to be able to, now those items go in there, and I don't have to worry about chasing anybody to chase anybody. They're going to be there until they sell them. And if we need to, then we can put some funds behind it and put the gas pedal down and make sure we've got to get out from underneath some of the purchasing things that just occur on a natural flow with that big a quantity, it's a bit larger quantity of suppliers and items we have. It's just a natural part of the business.
Rick, if nobody's there to bitch at you about your purchasing behavior, like, who comes to talk to you then?
It's usually me. I'm usually the person that, self-deprecating humor is a good way to get through life, particularly when you screw up regularly.
Yeah.
And then there's 3 of us that purchase here, and both the other guys are named Jamie. And always tell them, if it's it's too much, it was you. If it's not enough, it's me. And then we crisscross that back on. One handles predominantly beer, the other one handles wine, and then we just crisscross roll. So we take turns being good cop, bad cop, and I think our sales force leans into and the humor behind it. It keeps things fresh for them. If we can make them laugh and understand, hey, these are the inner workings, and there's financial perpetuity to it for us as well. You've got pressure to sell things, but at the end of the day, that's how you make your money. Right. So we're gonna need your help. And by the way, very few and times, and not often enough, do we hear thank you back for all the stuff, the money we're packing in their pockets for things that we guessed correctly on that we wouldn't sold nearly enough of if we didn't have some vision to do so.
You gotta love too, Brad, like, you're talking about my sales reps are focused on this as well, like they're paying attention to it. What do you think you two have done really well to get your team tuned in on focusing on the new go-to-market strategy and, automating a lot of the processes and getting this out in front of the reps to build that habit, right? That's always a challenge, right? New thing, new process, new way. How do you build that habit to get started with?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of hammered the reps down, and it was great. Mike came out and did some meetings with our reps in the field and showed them exactly this is how you do it when you walk in the account. Our biggest thing was the reps getting all these emails and us telling them to go sell stuff, and then that's where it ended, right? There was no, okay, well, let's run and see. Now they're looking and see, oh, I'm in third place with the amount of products I sold for this product focus, or, and they're talking to the other reps to get the other reps included into it. And that we pinned the reps against each other and made them compete, that has been a godsend. They are competitive. They want to win. And there has been some long-lasting reps out there. I've been with the company for quite some time, and they've caught a new wind. They are just absolutely lighting it up.
Brad, you've got people doing things that you've changed habits, I think is a good way to put that. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but you've changed some habits with some people that we couldn't get to turn a computer on before, right? And then at the antithesis of that, you got young guys that are tech savvy, software savvy that, they're scared of their own shadow, right? So we've got both extremes and examples of people that need to develop some interpersonal communication skills and go out there and hammer away at it. It's forcing them to do that, because if you're part of a team with the alpha male, you're not going to want to cost that guy his bread, right? So the team's element have been outstanding for that, and it's worked both ways with, the older guys that look like this that are afraid to turn the machine on, and then the younger guys that are afraid of their shadow. So there's a good mix there. And I would also say, Brad, if you don't agree with this or not, but we're not good at it yet. I mean, we're getting good at it. So there's all.
Oh yeah, we're still fresh.
My analogy about getting around the calendar 1 year for the Salesforce, I think that probably can go right here with this. I'm sitting here thinking about St. Patrick's Day as we're talking and driving items to that, and trying to learn from some of the things we've already stubbed our toes on and not doing it right, which we've done it. You can make mistakes at this thing very easily as well.
So I have a question. Two of the things I often hear, or I have historically heard, is why would I implement software if I can just do spreadsheets? I've got a route accounting system. I can pull reports. I can put things together. I have analysts on staff. Why would I need this? And the second piece is, I feel like every software I ever buy, it's more work than it's worth, right? I spend, 90% of my time maintaining it, building it, babysitting it to get the same outputs I would have gotten if I would spend half the time just doing spreadsheets.
Okay, what? I'm going to jump right in on that, because I'll tell you, I was thinking the same damn thing when we first started this, because I was the guy that was, Merlin behind the Wizard of Oz curtains there. I was the data report guy. So why are these guys going to come in and show anybody else stuff that I do already? Because the way I do it's perfect. And no, it isn't, by the way, because you're probably doing it the same way you were doing it 15 years ago, number one. Number two, when you're in your own cage, you don't see your own problems in your cage, and you don't see the mess in the corner of your cage. This thing right away highlighted for us where we think everything is hunky-dory in the pricing world. And of course, suppliers never ask you to go with pricing that aren't part of your margin goals. You don't catch and find those things regularly under your own mechanisms. The report automation, the speed, and the quickness with which it found those problems for us initially was amazing. So it far outweighed me sitting around trying to figure it out and looking for it. And, you find yourself becoming the report king, creating reports that probably you're only looking at. Now we have everybody look at the same set of reports. They're quicker. The data's more right at your fingertips. It's more extensive than what was being provided. And oh, by the way, now it's freeing up your time to do other things. So, the profitability side of it, the reasons come to you from 5 different directions, if that makes sense to you. And if I'm answering the question properly, you add up those 5 and it's pretty easy to see why you would do it. Now, and again, having said that, I would be, if you're listening to this, wondering right away, absolutely, I did it. I right away admit it, because I was going to be smarter than any tool these guys could bring in here, because we've been doing this for forever. We already know. No, well, you know what, we might have, and we might have been pretty good at it. But the ability to get everybody synergizing on the same page. I mean, now all of us, the executive room, are all looking at the same reports at the same time. And you know what somebody's going to look at and what they're going to tell you before you can even read it and think about it. So that's a great benefit. Brad, what am I missing there?
Yeah, I mean, same thing. It's it limits emails being sent. You're not running, 100 different reports. It's all in one. And those 100 different reports would be 100 different emails. So when does that 50th email get lost in translation? All the time, right? So limiting all that noise and ruckus has really made it easier to focus on what's actually our priority, our importance, and saves time. Because if we are doing this how you guys are doing it as effectively, we would have to hire someone to do that, right? So it basically takes somebody out running all those reports, following up on all those objectives, product management, and stuff like that, all at the fingertips in one easy interface.
I even had suppliers in there that I went, what? I had a supplier in there. What is that brand? I mean, I don't even know what. I enter this stuff and I don't even know who the hell that is. The name changed twice since what was in the software, and only I knew it. And I'm well, what is that, Rick? What do you, oh, that's easy. That's let me think here. So you mean if I didn't know what the hell I was looking at and what it was named, how would anybody else know? And how were we really tracking it? I mean, that's symptomatic of having 4,000 items live in the system, but it was eye-opening to see, and read that data through a different lens. And again, if you sit around thinking, you don't.
How many total suppliers do you guys have?
142 of them active, but then, when you talk about a supplier underneath it, Reignited, for example, has got, 36 brands, and he could put 2,000 items alone in our system. So, you've got to steer away from active and inactive and things you want to see and what you want them to look at. So it's enormous, but I would say of the 142, it's easier than that. 91 of them are, live and physical and day to day. You're dealing with things that you touch with them. A lot of them are just singular items and things that just find their own way and they require a little maintenance. And in the grocery store days, I used to tell the folks around here, there's 42,000 items in your building, and you're accountable to be in stock on all of them, and you would measure if you're out of 28 of them. So 4,000 of them is not a problem, but logistically, when you're on the supply side of it, chasing around that quantity of items from that quantity of people, the secret sauce that nobody understands is of the 142 or 91 of what you have, there's no universal way that they come to business to you. Matter of fact, they come to you 91 or 142 different ways. So it's almost like you're speaking 91 different languages based off their company and their practices, and their processes are different than, they're all unique. They're like irises and thumbprints, right? And then you got the way you want to do it. So you want to meld them into what you do. And then meanwhile, they're dealing with 30 some of you. So it becomes complex very quickly.
Speaking of that, I mean, that's a lot of suppliers, right? And you kind of led into it. They all speak a different language, and I'm sure they all want a piece of everybody's attention. So I'm sure they're all fighting over incentives, and they want to throw money at your reps, and they want to be top of mind. And with that many suppliers, how do you manage the incentives that are thrown at you, which I am sure is a ton? How do you pick and choose what makes its way through all the way down to the reps and what doesn't? And what do you look for when you actually push one live?
Well, I mean, he was in charge of the conversations, the person asking the questions, right? So typically, X amount of you may go away just because they just, I thought of something. All right, well, good. All right, let's talk about that. And by the time you ask your third or fourth question, they're in the weeds. So X amount of them go away because they don't have a viable plan. And, slowly but surely, they just either think we're obstinate or difficult to work with. No, you got to come up with a business plan that makes sense. There's no secret room in the basement here full of money. And at the end of the day, if you're asking us to do things on a margin structure that doesn't work for us, that makes that conversation easy with X amount of them right away. So that kind of weeds through it. I think you'd be surprised of that quantity of suppliers we're talking about, how many of them really don't have much conduit awareness or care to do that, right? They're busy and they're thin, right? They don't have a huge operation level underneath them with a ton of people and different resources to talk in depth with us to do it. So right away, you weed out X that way. The second way, you weed them out by having a good financial plan and structure around it. And then, we pick and choose the things that we think, I call them running lanes. If you can put items from your portfolio and your brand into running lanes where, you're not my 47th hazy IPA, and now you're not my 36th light lager. And please, oh, please, somebody else bring me another NA product so we can all run with that herd over to that big 40% growth pie chart on the 1.2% sliver, right? I mean, a lot of that is going on. There's so much noise for chasing things and trends for small pockets of gold where it's like by the time they realize they're going to look for gold, I mean, their wagon's already broke and the gold rush is over towards whatever it is they're doing. So it's
Man,
like
we should have
lager
had you on the
today.
predictions episode to talk
What's
about
that?
NA
Yes.
brands.
Well, it's, you know, from it's not your father's root beer to anything going back and forth. Yeah, it's always amazing by the 45th ABP that you end up with 30 light lagers and you just go, oh my God, what are we going to do with 34? And then, you know, everybody wants to sell it cheap. So I think profitability is the biggest, that's the driver, right? I mean, it's got to make sense and you got to want to do it and you better learn how to wade through it. Now, having said that, we're not, Brad, I don't even know if we're at 50% execution rate where I think we will be by the time we're done with this. I mean, we had one the other day. I won't mention the brand or name, obviously, but we competed for it out there, and one guy, you know, went and did more than everybody, and he won, and it was a $450 check it was going to cost him because of ambivalence from 20-some people. And we spanked ourselves, and we hollered at ourselves, and the boss man hollered the most at us for it because we took our eye off the prize, right? We put one out there, and we layered too many things in at once at the holiday, and, you know, we didn't use the tool. We flat out didn't do it. So you can become your own enemy quickly in this game if you put too much and layer too much into it. So to answer your question, I don't know that I have a good answer for that quite yet. We're still figuring that out.
You ever feel bad by telling a supplier no? And they just look
Oh,
at you.
hell
like,
no.
"What do
Are you
mean?
kidding me?
You don't want
Especially
my money?"
if they're a Spartan or a Buckeye, it makes it even easier.
They don't look at you like, what, you don't want my money? I'm trying to give you money for your sales reps here. What's wrong with you?
Well, typically would just come back with they're highly compensated to begin with. And B, I don't think that we can squeeze blood out of a turnip. So, I mean,
But you know what? Nobody's doing an NA IPA quite as like this one.
there's one coming right now as you say that. It's hilarious. Brad just asked me to put in the system right before this podcast. I shit you not. and they're good. I mean, some of the products are getting good, you know. And then everybody who's listening out there, hurry up and find the race to the first NA to go on draft. Oh, Jim's gonna be mad. I gave away a secret, but you know, people are running to legitimate running lanes. And I think to answer your question about being afraid to say no, I'm not afraid to say no because we're not going to be abashed to tell you that we're confident in what we're doing. And I don't think that's viable. And I'm not going to put a bunch of attention towards it. And if I'm wrong, you get to tell me I'm wrong at some point, you know, but stand in line, work with us. Here's the thinking and the reason why. And if you go away that easily, then, you know, our sales vice president's got some great one-liners too. And he always says, hey, the sale starts at the first no. So if that same thing for a supplier, I figure then, not being a sales guy by trade, you know, I'm a manager. I'm the mean grocery store manager from years gone by to most sales reps out there. So no, you're going to hear no, and the suppliers are going to hear no. And it's incumbent upon them to convince us otherwise.
When you're working with a team, Brad and Rick, and Brad, I'm going to kick this to you to start with, and you've seen this transformation start to take hold around being more transparent around directions and what you're trying to get done, and bringing some strategy, some, you know, automation to the strategy side. How is the middle management shift, or your directors, your area sales managers responded to this? Have they shifted the way they're leading, the way they're managing, the way they're interacting with their team? And let's go there first, and then I want to hear how they're interacting with you two on the executive team as well too.
Yeah, I mean, definitely our DMs are able to go into the store and see exactly what is supposed to be executed and basically give our rep a grade, right? And that is much easier than going in, writing a survey on a piece of paper, then taking a picture of it, uploading it as a PDF, and then sending it to upper management on an email. Add it to our 1,000th email now. And the surveys are so much more documented and informational because we're actually able to see pictures of the displays. We're making sure that there's point of sale on the display. There's pricing on the display. Where before, the managers go, yep, he got the center aisle display, he got the end cap, boom, this guy's good. Okay, but did he do everything, right? Because you don't have a sign with no display. How do you say it, Rick?
A display with no sign is a sign of no display.
Exactly. So that has been instrumental for how they've been able to talk to their reps and then talk to upper management.
Rick, have you noticed anything real big transformational change between them and you and them and the executive team out in the field as well too?
Yeah, I talk a lot less to them now. I mean, I listen more, and you can laugh all you want. I get it. That was meant to be funny, but yeah, no, I talking at them was never really effective. You always knew that, so you tried to be conscious of it. But now they have to talk, right? I mean, I think I've heard two of those guys' voice more in the last 6 months than I had the previous 6 years that they worked here, and that is a striking change, and that needed to happen. And we'd always been conscious of the fact that the reps work for them and trying to set that up. And everybody knows who wears the bad cop hat when it needs to be worn here. And it's fun to be a cheerleader and be a good cop as well. But those guys now are in that position where they're driving the car for that group and that team more and more. And I think from a growth standpoint and a maturation standpoint, I mean, there's another huge benefit for the organization and a win. And if anything, there's enough oxygen in another room somewhere else for the guy who loves to hear himself talk to begin with. So you just go find yourself doing something else. If you were that guy, of course I'm not, but there's plenty of other things to do out there.
I love it.
Have some of the suppliers really dug underneath the surface to look at what you all are doing? And I guess there's the root of my question is a supplier going to be more successful if they look at structurally what you're doing, kind of embrace it, and kind of tailor their conversation with you around that? I mean, have you seen them do? I mean, I would think they would.
Brad, go ahead. I'll let you take first crack at that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our suppliers have came to me and they always go, well, what is the best way to track this? What is the best way to track this? Especially if it's, you get $1 for every case that's on a display, right? Best way to track that is pictures. And I can sit there and export the group of pictures tied to all one incentive or one objective and send it straight to the supplier. And he's like, okay, so I know I need to go hit this account, this account, this account, because we're not seeing displays or we don't have point of sale in this display. So they're working with us based on the data that we're feeding them to make more profit for us both. Like I said, displays have been way more impactful this year. I can see it in our numbers. I can see it in the print shop because we're sending out point of sale like crazy now. Every rep has a stack of point of sale in their car now. That's what is expected of them. And it kind of changed their habits on that where, QR codes came out big and everyone complained because, I can't read a menu on my phone. Now QR codes are giving you $5 back on a case.
Oh, you're right, brother. You're right. Yeah, I think back to Mike, what you asked me relative to that. Not only is Brad right about the QR code, we're hearing from our suppliers. Michigan is by far the #1 redemption state for QR code usage, and I can tell you unequivocally that this has driven that. Absolutely, it has. And before that was thought of as money that we'll go ahead and budget because we know we're never going to have to spend it because it will never make it down to the consumer level. Now they see that and feel that and know it. But they're not worried about having to spend that money because they do see that as an effective spend and an effective way to drive, to get their word to their consumer, which is what they're after, right? And they see that we're going to do it and trust it. But Mike's question was good, and it made me, while I was listening to Brad, it made me think, I hadn't spent much time thinking about what they were thinking about that other than, and I think, Mike, it was because of, me trying to figure out why they're looking at me cross-eyed about not wanting their money. And, it's not about being disrespectful about $100 here, $100 there in a business. $100 here, $100 there. That's exactly what we're about, man. This is it used to be a penny business back in the day when I'm an old guy, right? So it's not about being flippant towards $100 incentives. It's about realizing that you only have a crack at so many of them, and you got to do them right because of the analogy we just told you about stubbing our toe on a guy that went out and did something for $450, but we didn't hit. I don't think I finished that story. We didn't hit a minimum requirement.
Yeah.
Put a hurdle rate up on that thing that should have been easily cleared had we done our job and made sure everybody was actively participating, but we didn't. And we learned, hey, that's a horrible thing to do with this tool, because, how long would it be before I go, hey, man, I'm not going to, what? I didn't get paid. I'm not going to do this. And of course, our leadership team was too great to let that happen. They stepped in and went, no, after being mad for a minute, by the way. Yeah, I got yelled at for sure. Rightfully so. Brad, you got yelled at, rightfully so. We took it, right? We own it. But, if you don't make those mistakes, I mean, that's why they put erasers on pencils, right? You got to make the mistakes to learn how to use the tool more effectively. So back to the supplier point, and I think, now that I'm thinking about this and you're making me try to give an intelligent answer, we're going to have to be extremely cautious how we approach each one of these and making sure we're layering them properly. Too many is a problem. Lack of focus towards them is a problem. Picking the wrong one that wasn't going to be viable is a problem. So I think that might be an answer now that I'm giving a little bit better than I took a stab at 20 minutes ago in the podcast.
Now, when you guys are thinking about what you want to get done and what you're looking for 2026, what are you most excited about for your team looking into the future in the short term of 2026?
Innovation.
Really? Okay.
Innovation. I think Brad will tell you, I get excited very easily and passionate about alcoholic beverages in general. Yes, guilty as charged. However, the ones that you can see that you're coming, and Brad's laughing because he knows we've got 3 of them that I know I'm going to lob 10,000 case numbers at, right? I mean, and that's a big number for a new item. I don't know, maybe it isn't for a Butter and Miller wholesaler like you guys, Bud. I mean, you guys probably throw around growth like that every day down there in your former wholesale world. But, for us little independent guys out here just chugging along, trying to make $1 here and there, that's a lot of cases. But it's excited to think what's coming next and what's going to resonate, what's going to hit, what's going to pop. That's the game every year. So I guess that's the exciting part of 80-some 100th ABP with the 65th hazy IPA in them, is finding that innovation from them and seeing the creativity from our suppliers and the artisan people that are making the products out there. Because it's when you drink an amazing product and you put it in your mouth, you can if you've been doing this long enough, you automatically know all you have to do is get your 50 to 80 people up with you on board on your team and get that in the mouths of Michigan, the great people in the great state of Michigan. And you're going to hit, you're going to win. And we've got some. So what do you do with those? Do those just automatically go out and find their way? Do you spiff them right away? Do you fill the pipeline and let it go? So there's a lot of fun strategies that go along with this.
I think that's a great point that you're bringing up, Rick, that you're excited about innovation. And we as distributors get kind of a bad rap from time to time, right? That we're just haven't been brand builders, or we haven't wanted to build brands, or we're being more logistics.
Not here.
I don't agree with that.
Not here, man. Yeah.
I don't agree.
We're the opposite of that. They're trying to calm us down for too many SKUs. I want another variety pack from, the big horse, big quality breweries and suppliers that we have. You're making the best liquid on the planet, brother. What are you doing? What's wrong with you? How come you don't have variant? I don't know how many peanut butter beers the world needs, but you're busy making things in your brewery that are just off the chart compared to the 87th hazy IPA or the 45th light lager that you want to put out. What are you doing, right? So we're the opposite. We're asking for that. I mean, the vulgar way I heard it put, this might hit the cutting room floor, is, it's SKU, right? I mean, you can just, there's a ton of them. Throw them at the wall. Let's see what happens.
Well, there's not a lot of strategy to it, right? Like that's the challenge
Absolutely.
from what innovation has become, is it's the Me Too product, too much Me Too, and not enough of people in the supplier side stepping out and finding that new void and that next frontier of something that's out there. You get excited when you see that new void. And what I love about what you two are doing when you talk to your suppliers is that you're advocating for that new void to be found. And you're telling them, like, this is close to it. Like, this is a direction that you see the consumer going. You're advocating, you're pushing back up sales, not of knowledge from your, frontline sales reps and your knowledge in your market, and going back up the side. It's like, this is the direction we need to go. And suppliers need to be listening to that more.
Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you this. That's the reason why we have that number of suppliers. And that's the great thing about it here. You can be the small guy out there. And if you have that ability If you have that innovation, if you have that talent on your staff, and if you're in a brick and mortar building somewhere and you're serving the public, I know no brewer's ever heard, hey, no brewer's ever told people, hey, listen, come try my beer. It really sucks. It's really average. Hopefully you like lack of head retention and diacetyl because I nailed it. They've never said that. They're all high on their own supply. But when you find someone that is innovative enough out there to go, he's out back working with ingredients and doing things or changing his process and coming up with the new widget, wobulator, conveyor, filter. It doesn't matter whatever he's doing, and it's hitting and it tastes great. You know it when it hits your lips, and that can come from any direction out there. So that to me, if you're not excited about that and you're in this business or doing what Brad and I are doing, get out.
Words of wisdom.
And I think, I get it. The IPA handle is the one that turns the most. It's the most prestigious handle. But not every consumer is walking into the bar saying, I'm drinking an IPA tonight. So there's no shame in not having the IPA handle.
No, and again, there's a lot of people, talk down to or give backhanded compliments to small segments. I've seen it happen for years, and I used to be that guy. And then, now we've got an NA. We've got 4 NAs that I'm excited about. A Trappist NA, a Trappist brewery made an NA, and it's fantastic. And it's just like, what? If you'd have told me 10 years ago, I'd be sitting here talking to you about a Trappist NA today. Man, you should be send this guy to the clinic. He needs to be tested for something. What's wrong with him? I can't believe that it's occurred and it's happened. And to me, that also is the exciting part. Where will it be in 10 years and 5 years? Well, I'll tell you one thing. We'll be looking for that next, whatever it is. We'll be on it.
Speaking of, I know we're kind of wrapping up on time here real quickly, but I mean, you kind of went down that rabbit hole there. And I mean, it's no secret that 2025 was pretty tough on the craft industry. And with you guys being a craft centric house, what does 2026 look like? Without giving too many secrets away, or being brand or supplier specific, but what does 26 look like in the eyes of some of the craft suppliers? Where are their brains? All Trappist NAs, or what's the word on the street?
Great question. And then I think it's the same if it was challenging or not, and if it was challenging negative 10% or negative 4%. The people who want to be challenged in doom and gloom will be challenged in doom and gloom. The people who want to innovate and continue to look, and I hunt Petoskey stones, right? And I can never tell when I pick up a Petoskey stone out in that great lake out there, Lake Michigan. I can't tell what's going to be 100%er. But if you keep picking them up, you're going to find one. And I will tell you, their innovation is there. They're chasing every age demographic. They're smart. You could have a really expensive marketing team. Your marketing team could be you, your wife, and your next door neighbor. It won't matter so long as you continue to pick up Petoskey stones. You've got a chance. So we're not bullish at all. We'll have another. We'll figure another. Yeah, okay, I'll say it. We'll have another positive growth year because we're going to figure that out and we're going to win at that game. And they're there. The products are there. The Petoskey stones are out there. How many are you going to pick up?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you got to do. And then it's got to be worth it and profitable and all those other things. So if you're my competitor listening, the lake stop running out of Petoskey stones. Don't worry about it. Just keep selling NA beers and light lagers.
I found one. We're on Lake Michigan beaches all the time, and in my whole life I have found one Petoskey stone.
You got to train your eye,
for those of us that didn't grow up in Michigan, what the hell are you guys talking about?
Oh man, I'll let Rick tackle that. He's the expert.
I mean,
you're going to need another half-hour
weird with the hand thing,
that, brother.
Everywhere I've gone for people in Michigan, they do the dang hand thing.
Well, you guys, all of you carved. So here's the map. So the glacier carved a big hole here, and then the lake serves as a natural tumbler. So the east side you don't find them because the tumbler goes towards Canada. But these were, it was a prehistoric ocean. It was once a warm ocean, dinosaur ocean, and that's a coral that grew, and now it's a fossil. It's laying there, and the lake tumbles them up there. If you got the right eye for them, you can look for them. I don't do anything for financial gain for them. I like to make it a hobby for Special Olympics and some things that are near and dear to my heart, and make some jewelry and have some fun with them. But it was expensive. I think relative to the brands.
A good size 2-3 inch, maybe 4 inch Petoskey stone's worth what, $400 probably if you were to sell it.
I wouldn't know. I would never sell one, but I mean, yeah.
Well, could you shave it down and put it in an NA beer?
I've only got a couple of them, guys, because they're really hard to find. So I certainly am not going to put out there how many I have. But yeah, no, if you get 100%ers, that are good fist size ones, those are the most valuable ones, polished up. And then, all of our fine shops across our lakes turn them into jewelry and pistol grips and things like that. So there's a lot of folks who do creative things from them. I don't have time, man. I got a job. I'm busy. Brad keeps me busy plus, I'm already trying to learn how to golf, and I can't do that either. So I'm just going to stick to what I know, and that's drinking.
They are really pretty stones, Ross. If you ever get a hold of one, for sure,
Well,
they're really cool.
Goldschlager puts gold flakes in the drink. Why can't we put these in a drink?
Well, because Goldschlager somehow doesn't break your teeth. If I put this in there, and this one's not polished, and this is just a prototype of something that I use on a rock saw, but that's going to hurt your teeth eventually.
Oh, that's nice.
So the fossil grows up, and then over time. And anyway, enough about Dusky stones.
So, Rick, I had one more entertaining question for the listeners out there. As a former grocery store manager that you are, how the fuck do grocery managers decide who to put at the back door to be our back door? And how mean they are.
They don't decide. That's
the happiest person.
That's no. See, you got that wrong. Grocery managers don't decide that. That is a scientific principle, just like Newton and gravity and all these other things. There's just it's science. That person was put at that door based on their proclivities, their personality, and who they are. And they were put there not only to make life challenging and interesting for suppliers alike. Grocery store managers, if you ever will notice, most of them have white hair or thinning hair. And I'm going to give those fine folks some great credit for that. They've been challenging for grocery store managers just as long as they've been challenging for suppliers. And they do have a unique scientific quality and principle about them that endear them to us all. Look at that. How to communicate with diplomacy and tact.
Look, my dad has always said that, the first, how you get hired as a backdoor manager is that you get put up front as a greeter first. And if you say, fuck you, welcome to whatever store you're at, as the shoppers come in, then you get promoted to the back door. That's how you get promoted to the receiver.
I used to think it was just we had so many people from our corporate office going back there to tell them what to do that most of them didn't want to go to jail for attempted murder or murder. So they just learned other inherently natural personal skills based off not wanting to murder the people from the corporate office. Continue to want to come down and tell them, you know what you need to do? Hey, you know what I was thinking you need to do? Hey, guess what you need to do? So they don't have an easy job. I'll give them that.
That they don't. I give them too much of a hard time, but I thought you'd get a kick. I wanted to have the people listen to that answer because I knew you'd get a kick out of the question.
Half of them loved me, the other half hated me. I can tell you that.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. Well, boys, thank you guys for joining us today. It's so great to have you both on the pod. If you want to chase Rick or Brad down, you can find them at Rave Associates up in Michigan. You can just Google search them there. And for those of you listeners out there, if you want to get in touch with Rick or Brad, feel free to reach out to info@vxptech.com. It's info@vxptech.com. I can pass along the questions or comments or anything that you're looking to shoot the shit with Brad and Rick about directly along. Boys, you two rock. Thanks for joining us today. Y'all are the best. Moneyball Ross and Data Mike, thanks for joining us too. Great questions. We will be in touch soon with some new stuff. This is going to be we did a bunch of stuff today, right? We covered our first science corner on fossils. We talked about the future. We did all kinds of this is going to be just an eclectic
I
episode.
try and have fun at anything I do. I don't know if I'm successful at it or not, but it was good fun. Great talking to you guys, man.
You guys did great. Thanks, boys.
Appreciate it.
Rock. We'll talk soon.
All right.
Have a good one.
Cheers.